All right, listen up. Solving quadratics by completing a square. Okay, so with solving quadratics by completing a square, one of the things you have to know is that we usually don't use this method to solve. What we do use these methods for is to take things from like standard form. This would be if I subtract 2, right? This is standard form, and I can change it into vertex form by completing a square. Okay, so that's one of the methods that is used for. Same thing when we get into conics. When we get into our conics unit, so the things like that happens. But again, it's normally not used to actually solve. The other thing you might see it on is an ACT type question, and they'll ask you some specific things about like how, when you were solving this, how do you get C? But I have to teach you this method because you do use it, just not as often as you think you do. And not to solve. Okay, so we're gonna just follow this procedures over and over again, and that's all we're gonna do to solve. First thing we're gonna do is move C. So we know that this is C. How do we move it? We add 6 to both sides, and that gives us x squared minus 2x. I'm gonna leave a space here, and equals 8. The next thing we do, we want to make sure that A is 1, right here in the front. That is 1, so we're good to go. You have to make sure when you're doing this, whatever step, if you have a ACT question, if you're in college and they ask you, your A has to be 1. After that, you want to do the next part, which is B over 2 squared. And so what do you do there? You're going to take B, and our B here is -2. -2, put it up here. Divided by 2, and then we're going to square it. -2 divided by 2 is -1. And then we squared, and we get -1. Sweet. So then what does it say? Add it to both sides. So that not -1, silly goose. That 1, -1 squared is 1. Add it to both sides. So we're going to take that 1, and we're going to add it to the left-hand side and the right-hand side. Boom. Take that 1, add it to both sides. This one right here. Okay. Now what does it say? Factor. Okay, so we know how to factor. We go x times x, 1 and 1. Okay, x, which is 1 and 1. Same signs, and they're both going to be negative. Cool. But I don't have to write x minus 1, x minus 1. I can just write it as x minus 1 squared equals 9. Okay. Now, what you're going to start to recognize, or you should recognize, is that this -1 here will always be the same answer there. Okay, so when you're going to do your factoring step, ideally, I would love for you to skip all of this part, right? That you can go straight here and make it a lot easier on yourself. But if you can't, totally understand. You'll just have to work it all out by hand. Okay, so then what do? We're going to go to solve it. Step 6, our goal is to get, oh, by the way, let me just show you a little secret here. If I take this equation, oopsies, and I subtract 9 from both sides. Okay, I have to write the right equation. I don't know what I'm writing. And I subtract 9 from both sides. We have now written this equation in vertex form. Okay, so we can take this equation from standard form to vertex form by using completing a square. And that's one of the most important reasons why we do completing a square. All right, that's a little side note. I'll go ahead and erase this. Okay, so then what's next? Now we're going to go ahead and solve. In the solve, we see x minus 1 squared equals 9. So how do I get rid of the squared? I take the square root, and that's going to cancel out those squared. So I'm left with x minus 1 equals plus and minus 3. Okay, right? Square root of 9 is 3, and then don't forget your plus and minus. And then I add 1 to both sides, and I get x equals 1 plus or minus 3. And then how do I solve this? I say x equals, well, I can do 1 plus 3. That's 4. And I can do 1 minus 3. Let me write it out so you can see it. X equals 1 plus 3 which is 4, and x equals 1 minus 3, which is -2. Things you have to remember when doing this, the plus or minus always goes in the back. When it comes to addition, you can always switch them. It doesn't matter the order, but with subtraction, you cannot. So it's very important that you keep it where the plus and minus is always in the back. Keep it in that order. Okie dokie. And that's it. We did it. All right. Let's go on to the next one. So again, we're going to do the same process. We're going to move C. We're going to make it sure A is 1. We're going to do our B over 2 squared. We're going to add it to both sides of our equation. We're going to factor, and then we're going to go ahead and solve. Okay, let's go. First step, move C. Actually, I'm doing this all in black. So we'll move C. And we get B squared plus 6B equals 68. We're going to do we're going to do B over 2 squared. That's the formula. B here is 6. 6 over 2 is 3. And 3 squared is 9. So we're adding 9 to both sides. All right. And then what? We factor. So again, I told you we don't want to have to keep writing it out and factoring it all the way down. 68 plus 9 is 77. So what do I know? Well, when I did B over 2, I got a positive 3, so I can just put positive 3. What else do I know? These factors are 1 and 1 and 9 and 1 and 9 and 3 and 3. Well, 3 and 3 make 6, so that has to be my factor. So there's so many things you can do. And again, you can always factor it out all the way through this process up here. You can always factor it out the whole process and then see what you get. But I don't want to have to do that for every last one of these. All right, and then how do we solve it? We take the square root, and we get B plus 3 equals plus or minus the square root of 77. We subtract 3 from both sides, and remember our placement. -3 goes first. Okay, this is one of those problems that just repeating the process over and over again honestly does help you. I suggest that you go ahead and do the last 3 examples on your own, because I can do this for you every single time, but until you practice it, you won't know if you're doing better. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop my video here, allow you to take the time to practice it, and then see if you get it right. Okay, so here are my last 3 solutions. You can check your work, and if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you know how to reach out to me. All right, bye. Oh, and I want to give a special shout out to my son, my #1 fan. Thank you for watching my videos.